The next thing that developed was a progression of roles. So here's what we do, and this has worked fairly well. So during people's first and second year, their biggest goal in life is to finish their pre-dis. A lot of times, if I'm mentoring the student, we'll do something like this. We'll find a data set that they can work on for their first paper and that has some overlap with their interest. And we'll have them design a study and start data collection. That process can sometimes go quickly, and you might have a study planned within a semester, but sometimes it can take a year to get the study planned and then another year to get the data. So what I was realizing is that was too slow based on our program, and so I would get people started on 2 projects, and whichever one finished first, we would count as their pre-dis. So during your first 2 years, that's your goal. We actually kind of mildly discourage getting too spread out and working on a whole bunch of different stuff. It's okay to be a co-author, give a paper a half day, line edit and work on something, but minimize your commitments to spend, hours doing data collection or coding or different things until you finish that first project. Your role is that of a project manager. So there's a writing aspect, but a better analogy is it's almost like you're a construction manager, and so your job is to keep the project on task. And so we created a schedule with kind of how long tasks tend to take, with a little bit of fudge room. What we asked our first and second year students to do is practice your skills of project management. If you were being evaluated on keeping this project moving, on avoiding delays where something's just sitting on your desk, and the primary reason that the project's not moving forward is because you've kind of let it sit on your desk, that's the skill that we want people to refine during their first year. And it will involve lots of other learning, because often the next thing that needs to happen is something that you may not know how to do. And so you have to kind of go find someone else on the team, find a faculty member who knows how to do it, and get some support, because it'll just sit there for weeks and weeks if you try to do it yourself. Research is a team sport. If people finish within their first year, and we've gotten to where it's probably a third of our students are starting to finish within a first year. When it works best is when there's a deadline, I've started to realize. So if I can get someone linked to a special issue that has a deadline, it's strange, but those projects just get done. And then I would say the next set of, the next third of folks that finish within a year tend to already have really strong project management and kind of self-regulation, self-discipline skills, kind of those plotting skills of what's the next thing once a week, make a list, do your list, do it week after week, and then, somehow the momentum of just doing, 3 things a day builds up over a year. And then, there's no shame in it, but, probably a third of the folks in our group drift beyond that. And I'm not sure that there's a single cause of when that happens. I think there's a lot of things that can happen. It's actually hard to finish a project within a year or even 2. It's a ton of work. And so the simplest explanation is it's a ton of work, and something else took priority enough times where the timeline got pushed back. It's kind of easy to trace, actually. If you kept a log based on that calendar that we created, you could see it. You just see the different places where the project sat. And if what we were doing was training people to work for Brassfield and Gorey, so my brother's a project manager in construction, And if you are being evaluated on those skills for your livelihood, it's probably something that would get quite a bit of priority. But within our doctoral program, there are actually a lot of competing priorities, and there actually may not be anyone other than you who will put that project highest on your list. And so I think that may be part of it. It's really not a reason to be embarrassed or anything like that. Probably what started to happen is you're wearing 4 or 5 different hats. You're a student, a clinician, a GRA, and so someone has effectively put other things on your top 3 most days. And in my experience, it's hard to finish your first research project. The first one's always the hardest, unless there's going to be a span of time, particularly in the writing phases and the analysis phase, where that kind of is going to need to be first on your list for most days for a period of time, or you're not going to generate. In students' second year, if they've finished their pre-dis, we go ahead and start kind of planning ahead. We start looking towards the dissertation, starting to kind of identify what the chapter 1 might be, starting to design studies, look at other possible projects. So it kind of opens up at that point. And so the sooner you get to the point of finishing your pre-dis, the sooner you can kind of have that moment of, okay, what are the goals for the next 2 or 3 years? Let's start to lay that out. Do I want to try to run an intervention study for my dissertation? If so, I can go ahead and get started on that, get the data collection well underway so that I'm not kind of running a risk of not graduating on time. So Michael Massengale did a clinical trial for his dissertation, and part of the way we got that done was we just started early. And then in students' third year, their primary goal is to lead the seminar. This is a good teaching experience. You're actually getting to teach master students. I mean, it kind of sounds cool. So when you're looking for jobs, looking for internships, you'll have this on your CV and you can kind of talk about what our group was doing. And it is a different and innovative thing. So people will be interested. It'll be kind of a talking point. And how we've talked about that is the third year students are 51%. I'm the other 50%. So I'm going to retain some of the parts that seem to work. Meeting structure, so forth and so on. The weekly email. But what we want to do is try out some different things. And so, for example, last year, Aaron wanted to learn more about kind of using online techniques, hybrid courses, developing online courses. And so our speakers that semester were people who had some experience with integrating online either into their teaching or their intervention work. And then in the spring, Shola, her area of emphasis was, how do we think about integrating dissemination and advocacy into our work? And so our group, we talked to a variety of people who were a big part of their passion for being a psychologist is relating to serving communities. And part of what gives the intrinsic motivation to participate in research is that there's a broader audience being served, and there's a broader mission that align with some of the values of counseling psychology, social justice, advocacy. That's our general structure. So like next year, we'll be working with Nick and Aman and do something similar. So what's something that we want to kind of move into and grow and have a period of learning? We'll do a little bit of reading, and you're going to kind of take more of the lead in structuring how we're going to do that, inviting a couple people to speak, potentially kind of organizing some resources for us to engage. And already we're seeing that's been super useful. So we immediately had the opportunity to put both of those themes from last year into practice. So the COVID crisis put everybody online, so we were already thinking that direction, and now those skills are going to be even more crucial for the future as a psychologist. And then the dissemination and advocacy theme really tapped our group into some conversations about why are we doing what we do, and how do we kind of stay connected to our sense of purpose, especially when it's so easy to, under stress, to kind of lose contact with that. And, you know, when things kind of heat up with lots of deadlines, and if there's any kind of interpersonal conflict on, you know, on practicum or in various settings, that can really kind of dampen motivation. And then our model for the fourth year and kind of beyond, I hate to embarrass her, but it really is. Stacy, as a postdoc, embodied what we're looking for, and it really is consistent with what we can do in our program to implement Ev's strategy. So how do we have institutional knowledge that ends up kind of fast-tracking everyone? Well, we don't have a multivariate sequence that's in the department. So we don't have the capacity to kind of put someone in a GRA that way. But the larger principle holds. So if we have advanced doc students who are highly proficient in 2 or 3 methodologies, they're strong writers, and they've kind of learned how to do most things fairly quickly or help get people to someone who can help them do something efficiently and effectively, then those students could potentially really make the environment more supportive and conducive to learning. They've paid their dues, they've developed expertise, they've developed institutional knowledge, and so they can, if they wish, and if they kind of have the mindset, they can give a portion of their energy to helping other people move along more quickly, and also giving support and encouragement. So instead of things feeling uphill, they can start to reduce the viscosity, reduce the kind of feeling that things are harder than they should be. In a certain way, I think this is the heart and soul of our group. If this happens, I think our group gels in a certain way. I think we have a different level of cohesion. And to this point, we've had excellent leadership in this regard. A lot of times during people's fourth year, it's pretty easy to kind of just drift away. Like, there's more demands on practicum, people are applying for internship, and so it's kind of easy to just go off and do your own thing. You're working on your dissertation. On our team, we ask people to reserve a portion of their energy to create a culture where they become more connected, not less, and they particularly focus on providing support and encouragement to the first and second year students who are kind of getting settled into the department and the system. We've tried a few different things in terms of structures to do that. Like we created like an open gym time that was right after or right before the leadership seminar time. And that's worked okay. It's definitely given a place where people can kind of count on seeing some people, and if there is a need to meet, it kind of gives us a little bit of margin. It hasn't necessarily helped accelerate people learning new statistical methods. And so we're still thinking about that. That's actually one of the things that this year almost all of our students mentioned is they're feeling the burn a little bit of, especially as they get into their second and third year, to kind of start to produce some writing outputs because, job applications are coming, internship applications. And so how can we give resources that will help people learn statistical methods more quickly?